Welcome to another special LWCT broadcast. I am Senior Daniel Fiske here with my broadcasting partner, Micah Evans. And today we have a very special interview with a legendary figure in this school's history. We're honored to sit down with Coach Rob Glielmi. Coach Rob Glielmi was an all-area football player in high school and also holds multiple records for our track and field team in discus and shot put. In addition to his high school success, Coach Glielmi attended the University of Illinois, played football for 3 years, 1982 to 85, where he started linebacker for multiple seasons and was part of the Big Ten championship team in 1983. I mean, he played in 3 bowl games, Peach, Rose, and Liberty. And after his collegiate career, he came back home and served as the Lincoln Way Central head coach for 16 seasons, compiling an impressive record of 123 wins and 53 losses. And under his leadership, Lincoln Way reached the pinnacle of high school football, capturing that 6A Class 6A title in 1996 with a dominant 52-22 victory over Addison Trail. And that title was marked the first ever in state football championship and cemented Glielmi's legacy as one of the most successful coaches in program and state history. In addition to the state crown, this team was perennial contenders, earning conference championships, multiple deep playoff runs, and beyond the gridiron, Coach Glielmi dedicated nearly 3 decades to teaching and mentoring students in the Lincoln Way Central District, leaving a huge mark on your community. And after all those accolades, I'd like to welcome Coach Rob Glielmi. How you doing, Coach?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. As always, we're going to start with a few questions about life here at LWC, maybe some life outside, and just starting off first, when you went to Lincoln Way, you played on the football team under head coach Dennis Bundy, but you were also a track and field star. And as I said, you hold the shot put record for the outdoor track. How does balancing football and track shape your perspective on discipline and time management for young athletes?
Well, I never thought it was that difficult being a multi-sport kid. And over the years, those were the players that you wanted on the team. Is kids that played other sports too. The big thing for me when I was an athlete and the coach, and then for the players, is you just got to make it a priority. Everybody has their schedule, and whatever you got to do for that commitment you made for that sport, you just put it on the schedule, and you just make it a priority. Now it's a little easier for the guys. They can weight lift during PE class. That helps them a little bit stay training for their sport as they play another sport. But I found out as I became a coach, the college recruiters, they wanted those kids that were multiple athletes. Mm-hmm. They didn't want the ones that just specialized in one thing. They wanted to hear about kids that were competitors in different venues and things like that. So I always enjoyed having players that did multiple sports. Wrestlers were always the best. You couldn't break them down. They didn't. No. They were mentally tough. They didn't get nervous. It was fun. They got excited. But the kids in all the sports, imagine being a pitcher and the game's on the line and you're the guy pitching. That's the guy I want at quarterback. And we had that at different times. So I think the coaches need to be flexible with the kids that are multiple sport athletes.
Yeah, I mean, in Minnesota, I saw a quarterback who was in the state championship last weekend plays for the Blackhawks right now. I mean, he's a multiple athlete. You just have to see kids that are multi-talented and just athletic in general. I see that. Second, after your days at Lincoln Way, you went to pursue a degree at U of I and played football for Coach Mike White. What lessons from your college football experience do you emphasize when mentoring high school athletes today?
I think the first thing, if you're talking about them moving on to the college level, they have to know that just like high school, it's not easy. And the goals that you set for yourself and what you're trying to do, it's not going to happen overnight. You really got to be persistent. If you're going to make it at that level, you got to be able to handle what I call delayed gratification, where, you might be working your tail off for years knowing that you really ain't getting your chance for a couple of years down the road. And for a lot of people, that's hard to work for something that is so far away. So you have to have that type of mindset. And, you know, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And it's not easy. So I used to tell the players, you know, anything that's worthwhile doing is worth doing poorly for a little while before you master it. Mm-hmm. So it's a long process, and the competition is very close. There's a lot of motivated players and teams, and you got to be able to put in the work, even though you don't see the results right away. It would be one of the things. Another thing that I tried to emphasize to the players that were moving on to college is they better remember that they are being evaluated all the time. Yeah. Even though they're going in as a freshman and they might think, well, I'm not going to play till junior or senior year. And no, they're evaluating you, your attitude, your toughness, your work habits, even if you're way down on the depth chart. They're forming opinions of you. And I think that's true in everything, not just college athletics.
Yeah. It's just super important to have that work ethic.
Yeah.
All the time, just especially like in swim this morning, I'm a swimmer, and it just takes multiple months, years of training to get to that level. Yeah.
Right. So you guys swim in the morning, then after school, huh?
We had lifting this morning, and we're first day of swim is today. So yeah.
Right. So there you go. That's a commitment. That's not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Glielmi, I have some questions for you. My first one is now getting to your head coaching career. When you accepted the role of being Lincoln Way Central's head coach, Lincoln Way had made the playoffs 4 years out of 38 years of being a school. And during your reign, Lincoln Way made the playoffs 13 straight years. What was your mindset when you first accepted the head coaching role, and what specific changes did you implement early on that helped spark the program's turnaround?
Yeah. Well, it was 1992, I think, when I took over. So, you know, my mindset when I went in there, I had a little advantage because I went to school there. So my mindset was, this place is a gold mine. We could really get it going here. And I felt like once we get it going, we won't ever look back. The enrollment was high, as it always has been. So we had great numbers in the players coming out. We had good numbers on the team, but back then, and I think it's probably still similar today, is the school itself. When I came back as a coach, and when I was there as a student, had a reputation for being very disciplined and very strict, and I thought that was key for getting the football program going, because that type of discipline, believe it or not, it carries over into the extracurricular stuff. You know, as coaches, you always try to say, hey, when you walk in this locker room, you know, you're on time, you're disciplined, blah, blah, blah. But if they've been running crazy all day in school, it's hard to turn on the switch when you get to practice. So you got to have a school that has some of the same values as your program is going to have. And I thought, well, that was already there in place. You know, when Lincoln Way first started, the original school board was made up of old farmers and former Marines. So they set the tone for how strict the school was there. I mean, if you go back to people that went to the school in the 80s and back then, 70s, even into the 90s, they tell stories that kids just shake their head. Really? That was that strict? It was, you know, how it's strict, and there were no shorts. You had to wear pants. The teacher couldn't have sideburns or mustaches. It was pretty serious. So that was a big thing. But I knew the kids at Lincoln Way were going to be tough. They're disciplined. They'd be accountable. So that was my mindset, was this is going to be great. You know, we got all the pieces. Probably the other part of your question, the biggest expectation, or the biggest change I had to make, was just the expectations of the work ethic, how much work you're going to put into it, working all year round for it. we always felt like the harder you work for something, the longer you're going to fight to give that up. And that's what we did in the off season is we worked real hard. So when we got in those tough situations in practice or game, they weren't just going to lay down, and they put too much into it. So they're going to keep fighting. And I thought that paid off.
Yeah, I mean, my coach always reminds us with that discipline, it doesn't start when you get to practice or like the pregame. It starts when you wake up, and that mental preparation takes the entire day. And the dedication, discipline you had, not only as a coach, but just what you've done for our football team, we haven't gone back from that. I mean, Danny can agree with me on this, that your reign allowed us to be on this football map. The reason why we have all of our big recognition is through you. So we appreciate the reputation you have put forth for our school.
Well, thank you. And Micah, what sport do you play?
I play basketball. I'm a basketball player. We have our first game today.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
Good luck on that. Who's the head coach now?
Brian Flaherty. He was at Bremen and West, and then he came over.
Yeah. Now there's an old school tough guy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, he's you could throw him back to the 70s and he'd fit right in.
Yeah. I mean,
hard work and dedication, and you got a good one there. I didn't know he was the head coach there now.
Yeah, no, I truly do appreciate all the time he puts into us, and I learn a lot from him, and he's a good coach for sure.
Yeah.
Well, my next question is now going back to you. And during your tenure at Lincoln Way Central, you produced, again, unprecedented success with our football team. You had 5 10-win seasons, and in our school history, we've only had 6 10-win seasons, and you have 5 of them. So that's just a major accomplishment on your behalf out of 71 years. But what lessons, when you had those 10-win seasons, that means you had playoff runs. What lessons from those playoff runs prepared you and your team for the challenge of chasing those championships?
Yeah, great question. Well, I think the big thing we tried to emphasize as we went through the season was come playoff time, you got to be at your best. You got to be at your best. There's no second chances. You know, if you have a loss or a couple losses or a disappointing performance during the season, you can recover from that and you can move on and make your corrections and so on. So that's okay in the regular season. But by the time you got to the playoffs, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of it, you had to feel like you were at your best and have your best game every week, or you were going home. You know, sometimes in the playoffs, people say, oh, the best team didn't win, but it's the best team that day. So that was probably the big thing was making sure it was a process to where come playoff time, we felt like we were at our very best.
Yeah, I mean, again, you didn't leave everything behind. A state championship, 2 semifinals appearances, a second place runner-up. Again, huge success.
Yeah, well, thank you. We had, it really was a great run once we got it going, and then when the school split, obviously that changed everything.
Mm-hmm. And then going back in those 2 seasons, Micah was talking about that second runner-up in the state championship in 1996 and 97. Led by future UCLA star Corey Poss, your team established Lincoln Way as a powerhouse program. What was the atmosphere like in the school community during those back-to-back championship seasons, and what did those runs mean to you?
Yeah, it was crazy because people were just very excited, not just at school, but in the community, because we just haven't had, we had some success, the school did in the athletics, but nothing put us on the state level, you know, where people were really excited. The games were packed. It was just a buzz around school. There's no seating left. That hill on the end zone was filled with people standing, watching the game. Around the fences would be packed. It was a big deal because we just haven't had a lot of success, and football was the first state championship the school had ever had in any sport. So that was a big deal. It give you an idea how exciting it was. For the first time in school history, we had a pep rally during the school day.
Really?
You think that's no big deal now, but back then they were so strict, and they couldn't interrupt the normal school schedule because there were lessons to be taught and tests to be taken, and academics was so important and all that. And I'm sure it still is, but it was a big deal. I remember for them to have a pep rally during the school day, and the students loved it, and that's just sort of how it was during that time.
Yeah. And then in that state championship run in 1997, you allowed quarterback Corey Paz to play free safety for the semifinal and championship game. And he caught 3 interceptions and threw 7 touchdowns in those 2 games. Just a small follow-up. What led you to make that decision, and how do you reflect on the impact it had on the team's success? I mean, those are crazy stats, especially for a quarterback to just step in and do that.
Right. To step in and do it like that. Well, Corey was a great competitor. He was a really good athlete. He was physical. So he wanted to play defense. He wanted to play free safety all year. And he was just so much of an impact on our offense. We just said, no, we're not going to do that. And we had some other kids that were pretty good on defense. So we didn't feel like there was a huge need for him to be there. But he wanted to play all year. And what happened was, as we got into playoffs, we had a couple injuries where we really got thin at that position. And we decided, this is it. We got to take a chance. And he actually got hurt in the state championship game and didn't finish the game. He didn't play the whole second half. But we still had no regrets that we played him. He got hurt playing free safety. So we didn't have any regrets putting him in there because it was something we had to do. He was such a playmaker, and he made some big plays at safety as well. He had great football savvy and intelligence, and he said afterwards many times he wished he had played free safety all year instead of quarterback. But I don't think he would have been one of the top recruits in the nation at free safety, but he was at quarterback. But that's how that all came down. Is we had confidence he could do it. I think we messed around at different times in practice, just putting him in there, making sure he could start learning the position before that. And then when the injuries hit us, we said we got to make the move. Interesting story. Early in the year, we were playing Andrew, who was a great team, and we were into overtime, and our kicker was having all sorts of problems. He just a terrible day. For whatever reason, and he was missing PATs. Everything was going wrong, and we were in 2 or 3 overtimes with Andrew, and we had to kick the PAT to win it. And I remember Corey coming over and said, "Coach, just let me kick it. I can kick it." We never watched him kick, but the kicker was a mess, and we said, "All right, Corey, go kick it." And sure enough, he kicked it right down the middle, and we won the game in triple overtime or whatever it was. And that's the type of player he was. And the same thing when he wanted to go to safety. He said, "Coach, I got this. I can play safety." So we started working him in, and then when we really needed him, he was ready to go. He was in the state championship game, I remember the other team had a big tight end that was going to Michigan. He was their guy. He was their main guy, and they threw to him all the time. So Corey was going to be covering him, and we were getting on him in practice, telling him, you got to get right on his hip. You're playing him too loose, this and that. And he shook his head. He said, "Coach, I've been watching the film. Their quarterback overthrows or underthrows a lot of his passes. I'm going to make him look open, so he throws it to him, and then I'll pick it off." But as a coach, he said, no, just get on the coverage. And sure enough, first time they tried to go to that big tight end, he did exactly that. He played him loose, and then he undercut the ball and picked it off and got us going on defense. So he was that type of player. It was an easy move putting him at safety, you know, any besides quarterback.
Yeah. Wow, those are some crazy stories.
Crazy. Just an athlete.
Yeah, an all around athlete.
Just real. He had the savvy, the competitiveness. He didn't get nervous. He was something special for sure.
Was his brother the same way, or was his brother like just a quarterback?
His brother could have played other positions if needed. I don't think his brother was as athletic as Corey as far as being a runner, but he was still a good athlete and had a great arm and was every bit as good at quarterback.
Yeah. And then we're about to mention him here. And you mentioned earlier the 2000-2001 season marked the end of an era. The Lincoln Way split up into multiple football teams. That year ended in the unforgettable double overtime. I mean, we heard about this from Rob Ninkovich, the semifinal against Maine South. Are you shaking your head? Rob Ninkovich, Casey Poss, who doing a little research on him, he went to Washington and went 42-2 as a starter. Played some years in the CFL and also some amateur hockey. Yeah. And mentioned in the dual sport athletes. And then as well, current Lincoln Way Central teacher Jeffrey Tarala. How do you describe the legacy of that final Lincoln Way football team, and how do you personally respond as a coach, knowing that it would be the program's last chapter in its original Lincoln Way form?
Well, that made the loss even worse. Was because it was our last time being together as one school, and yeah, it was a horrible loss. It was the worst loss of my career by far. You know, the year before, in '96, we lost in the state championship, and that one didn't hurt as bad as the Maine South game. Mainly, we felt like that was probably the best team we ever had. And it's hard to say that because the guys on the '97 championship team would say, well, we were the state champs. How can you say that? But if you look at the numbers and the personnel we had and how dominant we were all year, and the other thing that season made that loss so hard was all those. We were in the semifinals the year before, and we had almost everybody coming back. So we had huge expectations. Our expectation was state championship only. You know, that was it. So when you have such high expectations like that, it hurts a lot more when you lose a game like that. So it was a tough loss. And it was just, you know, I still believe that was the best team we ever had, but it's hard to argue that with the guys that took it one step further and won the championship. But sometimes you get lucky on who you get in the playoffs. You know, there might be some really super teams that are real dominant that you see early on or later on. But anyway, it's how it goes. And like I said, that was the worst loss ever.
Yeah, I mean, saying that Carmel had to match up with East in the quarterfinal, like two teams that I thought personally would have matched up in the state championship. It just matters on your draw. So yeah.
So it had a, you know, it was a tough one to take, but you know, it happens in athletics, and there's nothing you can do. You just keep going, get up and keep working. Just keep moving on. I mean, sometimes there's no explanation, and you feel like you were deserving or whatever. It happens in athletics. You're not going to win them all.
Mm-hmm. Well, nonetheless, you had an illustrious career, and throughout your career, you coached athletes who went on to succeed not only in the collegiate level, but also professional level. You had Corey Paus. He went to UCLA. We mentioned Casey Paus. His brother went to Washington. Rob Ninkovich went to JJC. Then he went to Purdue, excuse me. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, these players have credited you as their major reason for their success professionally and at the collegiate level. So my question to you is, how do you feel about being recognized as such a pivotal influence in their journeys? And what do you believe your role was in helping them reach those heights?
Yeah, another great question. Well, thanks. That's a big compliment if you feel like you had a major impact on their development. And Going back, I think the whole staff, our emphasis is we felt like we were always teaching and emphasizing characteristics that would make you successful if you went on to college and played sports, but things that would make you successful no matter what you went on to do. So, one of our mainstays was we felt like if you were going to be a good football player, just like if you're going to be a good swimmer or basketball player, first you got to be a good person, because all those character traits that lead to success, as a good person, leads over to the playing field as well. And you've heard coaches say it all the time, things like discipline and accountability, toughness, work ethic, and so on. We tried to emphasize those things, and then with the idea that the success would all fall into place anyway. So that's sort of how we approached it. Not necessarily getting kids ready for college football, but just getting young men ready to become mature men and move on in life.
Yeah. My other thing as a follow-up going to, having collegiate stars playing on your high school team, how were you able to maintain your players' focus when they had the college spotlights on them?
It was never an issue. I didn't think that those guys were all in, and they were all in on winning championships in high school before they took off to college. And to be honest, we always had a couple real tough guys on our team that if somebody got a little bit too cocky, they sort of were put in their place, even though they were these big time recruits. Their peers were not impressed with the fact that they were going to Division I level. I mean, they respected that, but it wasn't like they would allow them to maybe not work as hard or be as focused as they were. Now in the summer and stuff, you had to have some flexibility to let the kids go to camps and do some visits, because the college guys, that's how they want to evaluate them. So you had to have some flexibility with that. But those players in particular, the kids that were future college kids, from what I remember, they were always all in, just like everybody else. Just like the kid that knew this was his last year of ever playing football. He wasn't going to play in college, and high school was it for him. Those guys were on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of college prospects on our football team this year, and I feel like that was the same thing, like you said. It wasn't that they were so focused on the college side; they still wanted to get business done for their senior year. It's important to have that focus, or else it just brings the team down.
Yeah, and when you got kids that grew up together, have known each other for, I don't know how they do it on the college level now with all the transfers, and you pretty much have a new team every year, and you got to make them work together and be cohesive. But in high school, everybody's from the same neighborhood, been going to school, know each other, and you feel more of a bond together then.
Yeah. It's like college right now, going on that point, it's like I heard one coach say that right now college sports is about creating college teams, whereas it should be making college programs. And I think that's at the high school level, that's what you were able to do. It wasn't just having good teams, it was making sure you had a great program.
Yeah, it was. And thanks.
So going on to that, great program, great things have to end, unfortunately. And yours did. Your last season as our head coach was that 2007 to 2008 season. What factors led you to know it was the right time to step away from coaching? And how did you process that decision personally?
Well, I don't know. I've always loved coaching. But what happened to me is I felt like as a head coach, you have all these other responsibilities outside of the field where you're actually coaching and working with players. And that's what I loved the most. And the other part was starting to exhaust me a little bit. And I just felt like I had my run. It was a good run. And at times I felt like I was starting to get negative, which I didn't want that coaching style. I was starting to get negative. So I thought it's time for somebody else to come in, and I still love football. I still love coaching. So I'll stick around and coach, but I just won't do it as the role of head coach. And we had a lot of great assistants that were ready to step in, and so I decided, well, I think I'm going to do it, and I did do it. And when I stepped away from being head coach, but I also stayed in coaching, and I coached I left Lincoln Way Central because I just felt like the new head coach probably doesn't want the old head coach lingering around, saying we did it this way, we used to do this, blah, blah, blah. So I decided I'd get out of his way, the new head coach, and I went to Lincoln Way North, and I coached there as an assistant the entire time Lincoln Way North was open. And then I finished my career at Lincoln Way West. So I still coached. I was still around the game. I was still around the other coaches and still around the players, which I enjoyed. And now I didn't have to deal with some of the head coaching duties, which for me became exhausting. Some coaches are better at handling those type of things than others. And I just thought it was my time. So it was a tough decision, but I'm glad I made it, and still enjoyed coaching and being part of Lincoln Way and all that.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. And then after stepping away from coaching in 2008, how have you continued to stay connected to the game of football, your former players, maybe a little bit of the Lincoln Way community, and what do you see as your lasting legacy beyond wins and championships? I mean, we've heard about your great legacy before we got on this call. Mr. DiPolo came on and talked about it, so
Right.
I'd like to know about it.
Well, over the years, when I retired as head coach, I didn't just move away and leave for good. So I was still able to be around everybody and all the coaches that I coached with. It was interesting because we all dispersed to different schools. Some guys went to West, some stayed at Central, some went to North. And before that, a lot of guys I had coached with that coached for me had moved on to East as well. So everybody moved on, but you just kept in touch, and I was still coaching, so that helped. And then, here and there you cross paths with former players, and some of them you keep in touch with on a regular basis. We had a reunion for the 96 and 97 team, I think in 2017, and that was great to see them all come back with their families as adults and things like that. But I was still sort of involved and now that I'm completely retired, every Friday night I go watch a high school football game as a fan, and I really enjoy that. Just like I really enjoyed being an assistant coach after I had my run as a head coach. I really enjoyed being an assistant coach too. So it's not hard. I still love it, and I still stay in touch. I follow the playoffs, I follow them the best I can. I live in Arkansas now, so I still follow the Lincoln Ways through their season and get to watch some games here and there on Lincoln Way TV, in fact. So I still like it. And as far as the legacy, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think the program that I started set a new standard for just the mindset and the expectations for football at Lincoln Way, and for the players coming through. And then the other thing you hope as a coach, and hopefully me and my assistant coaches did this, is besides just trying to win football games, we're trying to develop young players into good, solid young men that'll go on and be successful. And hopefully some of the lessons they learned in football carry on to other parts of their life, not just going on to playing college football. So that's what you hope, that you had a positive impact when it's all said and done. And I feel very fortunate. I was around a lot of great coaches, a lot of them still coaching at Lincoln Way. And then I was around a ton of great players. I mean, they were all in, They're fun to be around with. You could count on them. They were tough. I was thinking the other day, right now, I think there's like 15 former players of mine that teach at Lincoln Way, at one of the Lincoln Ways.
Really?
And that was sort of neat to see them, that they come back and do that. So I think at Lincoln Way Central, Coach Corrales, he was on my first team.
Oh, wow.
He was on the very first team I had at Lincoln Way. He was that was his senior year. And I think Coach Newcomb, Brian Newcomb, does he coach at Central? You guys might not know. I think he teaches at one of the other schools, but might coach there. And then you mentioned Jeff Tarala, Jason DePolo. These are some of the Central guys. Is Scott Gardner, is he one of the counselors at Central?
He's now our driver's ed teacher, but he was a counselor.
Okay, so him and Jeff Tarala were the two receivers on that 2000 team that lost to Maine South. Is Mr. Young still there, Jack Young?
He lives now in Montana. He got an assistant principal job.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
So he was a starting corner. He was a 3-year starter at corner. Unbelievable. At that time, we had great players, and he started for 3 years. He was on that team. Is there a Mike Mans? Is he at Central?
Yeah, he's a gym teacher.
Yeah. So he played. He didn't play on that team. He's a lot younger than those other guys that I just named. But and then there's a whole bunch, a whole handful of them at West and at Central, former players that came back and they're now at Lincoln Way. So that's sort of neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious your circle or your sphere of influence has definitely stretched beyond what, I mean, you could have even imagined. I'd figure. I mean, you got teachers all over the place. You got coaches, assistants. You got Rob Ninkovich, who we interviewed about this time last year. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. I mean, it's just crazy to think the influence that a guy like you, I mean, a head coach in a small town in Illinois can really have on really the entire community.
Well, thanks. That is a big deal. You hope you made a difference in a positive way, and you're right. There's a lot of, I loved our coaches. They were all in. They worked their butts off, and now they're sort of trickled out through the whole district. But it's great to see that I'm still in it. And then the former players come back and coach and teach.
Yeah. And also, don't forget, you mentored, coaches of Arnar at East, and the amount of state championships that East has accumulated. I mean, that can be direct.
He's been very gracious. He's given me credit for his coaching development, but him and Coach Palisard and a whole bunch of other guys that I coached with at one point, they got it done on their own, and they did a great job. Yeah, everybody has to learn from somebody. And initially, Coach Svonar was out of college. His first job was at Lincoln Way Central as an assistant coach. So obviously you're going to learn a lot in your first job and all that. And congratulations to all those guys. They've all gone on and done a great job coaching and still love it. And, I'm not going to take credit for that, but I'm glad that they have the fire and the enthusiasm for coaching like they did when they were with me. They still got it.
For sure. Absolutely. My last question for you is, looking back on your entire journey as a whole, being a multi-sport athlete, leading Lincoln Way through playoff streaks and those state championship runs, coaching players that went on to succeed past the high school level, mentoring coaches like we just mentioned. What advice would you give to the next generation of coaches and athletes who hope to build a program as successful, impactful, and everlasting like yours? Right.
Great question. Yeah, there's so much that goes into it. The one thing I'd say is you can't do it alone. So the first thing you better do is surround yourself with some really good people, people that have the same goals, the same desire as you do, or if they don't have the same goals, they believe in you and your goals. I've heard it say many times, the people you surround yourself with will define you. So that goes for a 15-year-old kid hanging out with the wrong people, or a head coach who doesn't have good assistants. You know, they're going to define you. So you got to get the right people with you, and that makes it so much easier. You can't do it alone. It's not you. You know, a lot of coaches, they start having success and they think it's them. They think it's me. I'm so great. I did this. I did that. Well, sure you have a lot to do with it, but there's so many other people involved, and all of a sudden you get a new set of players, and you're not such a great coach that you thought you were. You know, so it's the players, coaches, it's everybody. That would be my advice: is be very selective on picking who you're going to hang out with, who you're going to associate with, who you're going to bring in on your team.
Well, Coach, it's been great having you with us. To have an interview.
One more thing, a little more lighthearted. The advice I'd have for Coach Woodburn is he needs to bring back the filthy five. And you can ask maybe Coach DiPolo or some of the other guys that were back here today what the filthy five was. But Coach Woodburn needs to bring back the filthy five. That was one of our staples in the program.
We'll have to figure out what that means.
All right.
But Coach, again, to have an interview with you for your time, you know, one of the greatest coaches in Illinois high school football. It's been an extreme privilege for both Danny and myself. What you have done for our school's football program is legendary and is going to be remembered for a long time. And like Mr. Featherling said to us, you truly are our Nick Saban at Lincoln Way Central and have been a mentor to many. So thank you for your time and cooperation with us. It is an honor to finally meet this renowned star that coached for so many years, because I know Danny and I mention you a lot, but to finally have a picture and a face going along with it means a lot. So to end, I am Senior Micah Evans alongside my broadcasting partner, Daniel Fiske. This wraps up our interview with the great Hall of Fame coach, Rob Glielmi, in another segment of LWCTV. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. Have a good one.
Hey,